Someone wants detention today. Don't ruin my books.
Welcome back to our monthly update on the series that I'm currently reading and kind of moving through. This is the May update. I know we are well into June, but just as a little bit of an update, I think most of you are up to date on the whole job switching thing, and last week just was not fun. Last week was the week where I had to tell all the kids that I was leaving, and the stress moving up to that and then the actual telling of it really took it out of me. I was a sack of potatoes for most of that week. And I think you might have seen the YouTube post. I'll link it in the description down below if you haven't. But I did tell you all that I'm just gonna put out what I can. Obviously, I have the 2 read-alongs that I'm doing along with other people, so I've invested in that, and I kind of have an obligation to that. And I really do want to continue those read-alongs, which are the Heroes of Olympus read-along and the Throne of Glass read-along. We are moving into the tandem read for Throne of Glass. Am I still working on the book for last month? Yes, I am. But as I've mentioned, we're just going to move slowly. This is going to be a month where the emotions are going to be all over the place, and we're just going to let it happen. But with all of that updating out of the way, let me just tell you what went on for the month of May. I do have a cat, jumping around here, so if you see me looking down a lot, it's because I'm trying to make sure that she's not ruining any of the books that are currently around me. Also, yes, I'm wearing probably the exact same outfit as I was in the last video. This has become my cozy sweater, and as aforementioned reasons, we need all the cozy vibes these days, so forgive me. But again, I don't care. Let's start with the most fun news, which is that I finished 2 series, which was the Locked Tomb series and the Villains of Lore series. So for the Locked Tomb series, I have now finished None of the Ninth. Do I know what the hell is going on in that series yet? No, I do not. Is it now become obvious that that 4th book that is mentioned but not yet published is actually a thing? Yes. Because I finished None of the Ninth, and it became very clear that there was a setup, that it was being set up for another book. And I went on, because last month I was also doing, what was the readathon called? I want to say Tahereh, but that's the one I'm doing currently. I was doing Escape the Readathon, and I mentioned it in the group chat. I was like, well, I just finished this book and now I don't know what to do. And people were commenting on it like, welcome to the wait line because we've been here, and I'm sorry, was kind of the vibe that I got. So it is now, in my opinion, confirmed that there will be a 4th book, which will come out who knows when. But I really want to read that 4th book when it eventually comes out. But I am considering this series done because obviously there's no more books. The way that the 3rd book went, I was very pleasantly surprised at how many hints I did take up and how much it did kind of start to put things together, especially towards the end. I think that's quite obvious because this one really felt like, okay, we're starting to merge everything together and everything is starting to make sense. Now, one of the things that I was very surprised about was the amount of callbacks to actual real life and the amount of like pop culture moments that were being mentioned. The fact that one of the planets mentioned was Tauchetty, which if you've seen any of my previous reading vlogs, you know that I've read and now seen Project Hail Mary, was very mind-bendy, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. It made my enjoyment even better, which is, I think, a bonus. Again, if you hear the cat eating, we've been talking about this. Just ignore, okay? She's having a snack. Now I am in purgatory, along with everybody else. So how high is the probability that when we do get the fourth book, if we do not get that book this year, the probability of me having to re-listen or reread all of them, I'm not gonna lie, all of them is gonna be very high. So yeah, I'm gonna have to find a summary that is actually adequate. It's gonna be a journey. This whole series has been a journey and it appears to not have stopped. Having now read this book and actually talking about this and finishing the third book, I do feel like there are now a lot of people that are waiting for this, so I'm not alone, which is good. I think that when this book does get announced, people are going to get very excited about it. So I am very, very much into being a part of that. And I don't know, maybe even getting it on release, I don't know. But yes, still kind of confused about where this might possibly end. But I feel like now I have a better grasp on what is actually going on, which is saying a lot. Now, the second series, as I mentioned, that I finished was Villains of Lore. Now, with this one again, I feel like there is a very big possibility that she's going to continue writing. Jasmin Maas is going to continue writing for this series, because I feel like there's still a lot of loose ends. Do I feel like the main character, Hercules or Alexis, her story arc is done and finished? Yes, I do. The duology of those characters is very much done. But what I did find, especially in this one, and that I was actually very pleasantly and kind of also unpleasantly surprised by, which I will explain, was that I was feeling myself being more invested into quote-unquote side characters than I was in the actual main story. So if you don't know, I read this book as a part of a genre that I wouldn't normally read, which is a Why Choose. This was my very first ever Why Choose. And to be honest, I thought it was going to be a little bit more spicy. It seemed like a slow burn, both the first and the second book, both Blood of Hercules and Bonds of Hercules felt very much like a slow burn. And like in the end, sprinkling in some smutty bits, and that was about it. I found myself continuously getting distracted by the Achilles and Petro storyline. If you know, you know. I don't think that it is a secret that many of the books that surround Achilles actually do mention the fact that he might have been queer, which in Pride Month, I know I love talking about this. By the way, happy Pride. Everyone is welcome. Come on in. Now, finishing the second book, we have a third player that has come in to that storyline, which could continue on with the Why Choose, very much so. But I feel like if that book were to ever come out, I haven't looked into it. I don't know if it is announced, yes or no. But if that book were to be announced, I would be more excited about that book than I have been for the first two. It appears that in the ancient Greek god, Olympians, all of the things, even though it is kind of futuristic and gods are real, all of the things, but we still have a little bit of a case of homophobia, which you would think we would have gotten over by that point. But, you know, let's not get into that right now, because raging was not on my agenda. That whole plot line of Achilles and Patro actually looking for a third so that they could be together, I don't think that's an actual spoiler. I think you get that in like the first book pretty early on, that they are an item and they are together and they are very much in love. I felt myself when they switched to either Achilles or Patro, I felt very many more feelings about that storyline than I did about the actual main characters, which is sad, like I mentioned, because obviously you want to enjoy the main plot line. But it gives me something to maybe look forward to, who knows. As of now, this series is done, but if the next book, if there is a next book, and it is focused on those three main characters, I'm not going to tell you who the third is because that is a spoiler. So if those three are going to be the main characters in the next one, sign me up, is all I'll say. And a little bit of an update to books that I've been continuing. Now, to be honest, I'm still in the middle of all of them. I haven't finished any of them, but like we've mentioned, this is going to be a month, you know? This is going to be a thing. We're just going to let it happen. So I'm currently in the middle of, and I'm just going to go through these because I think I've mentioned them in the previous video and we don't. Repeats now. So I'm currently on the final book in the Red Queen series. I am on Warstorm. I've read just about this. We're not far into it, but right up until this point, it's still very political, very much moving pieces on a chessboard. So the other book I'm still continuing, Crooked Kingdom. I'm over halfway. I think I'm hoping that I might be able to finish it this weekend because I have a night shift and then I'm free all of Sunday. I will be recovering from a wedding. I have a wedding to go to on Saturday, and that coming out of a night shift might get interesting. But I have found the audiobook for this, so that might help. That might help. I did not know, by the way, that the audiobook for this was full cast. Wish I'd known that sooner. Anyway, and then obviously the other book that I'm still currently working on, I'm just over halfway. It's Queen of Shadows. Now, obviously, we are going a little bit slower through this one because I'm taking copious notes. Again, we be knowing this, but I want to get through this one so that I can go into the tandem read, because I remember the first time that I read this series, I did the tandem read, and I feel like there's no other way to read those two books, Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. So I am now very much into it. Also, just my note-taking brain. Is this just me or is this anybody else? My note-taking brain is like fizzling with wanting to take all the notes. So those books I'm currently in the middle of. I'm also using, as I mentioned before, I am participating in the Tahereh readathon hosted by Deja Books, and I've done this last year and really enjoyed my time. So if you don't know, I do quite enjoy the woo-woo. So I do have a tarot deck and I've been pulling cards just kind of every day or like on the days that I feel like I need it. And they've been spot on and kind of reading me to filth. So it's been interesting to do that part of it. But then obviously also tarot correlate with books. Now these three books, at least I think two of them, are for the Tarot readathon. It is one of the rules that you can actually continue a book that you weren't 50% into by the start of the month, which I wasn't on. I think it's Queen of Shadows and Red Queen, obviously. I think Crooked Kingdom I was over halfway. You can just only count the pages that you read for that book in this month. So that's what I'm doing currently. And then obviously we're just gonna keep going. And I hope that me pulling some cards is gonna give me the opportunity to either do Empire of Storms or Tower of Dawn. Now, obviously, those are two books that we're going to be reading for the month of June and July. So I do have 2 months to finish those two books. And for some reason, doing the tandem read feels like you're flying through it because you're switching between two books. And that in and of itself, just that action alone, feels like it's clicking along very fast. If you're wondering, we do have a graphic for the tandem read along, which you can find. I will link the website that Donna has made for our Throne of Glass read along. I'll link it in the description down below. And the whole graphic for that, it is made in the style of a bookmark, so you can print it out. Oh, there's a lot of Sarah J. Maas Throne of Glass read-alongs going on at the moment because of the new release that's coming out. I do know that Jen and Jessica are also doing theirs, so you can dip in anywhere you want and read at your own pace. See, if you don't want to do the tandem read, don't do it. I mean, if you want to read them separately, do your thing. I was flirting with that idea of now reading them separately because I read them in tandem. This is not the time to experiment with enjoyment. I'll just say that. So obviously we have the Throne of Glass read along that I'm doing this month, and also we are getting into, I think, is it the Mark of Athena that we're getting into in the Heroes of Olympus? I think it is. For this month update, I obviously did read The Son of Neptune. Again, enjoyed it very much. I liked it a lot. I do have a little bit of a preference as to what trio I enjoy more, but it seems that Riordan has figured out in this series how to do a massive cliffhanger. Is all I'll say on that. Now, I think I mentioned this in the TBR video that I had for the month of May, and I did start new series. I started This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. This is a 4-book series. I think the series is finished, so that's good. I might have mentioned this previously, but I did very much enjoy this first book. I liked the whole premise of it. I also really did enjoy that it's kind of a new thing in the fantasy realm that I'm reading. Usually I've been really into like fae, witches, dragons, all of that side of fantasy for the past couple of months, years. So to now actually read about something that's quite different with the Jinn is very refreshing, and it's making me very curious. Also, plot twists. By the end, I thought I had it figured out, and then that happened. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. And then also, I completely lost my train of thought there, but also what I was gonna say about This Woven Kingdom is I like that we know that this main character has a certain position. I don't want to give too much away, but it's nice to know that our female main character very much knows who she is and is willing to use it and is just waiting. I like that very much. So I'm kind of curious to see in the second novel what that whole thing is going to be once she finally is done with the waiting. So the next series that I mentioned that I was going to start was Game Changers by Reid. I have only gotten to Game Changers. I wasn't able to get to Heated Rivalry yet. If I get a card pull, a tarot card pull this month that allows me to read that one, you bet your butt. I really did enjoy it. The thing that kind of annoyed me, and which is it's making me very nervous to go into Heated Rivalry, is I was playing the comparison game to the show, especially when it came to this story, which is the Kip and Scott kind of side of the whole thing, which we only got one episode of them, And we got hints of them throughout the rest of the episodes, but one main episode. And so they kind of really had to rush through it because obviously book 2 got an entire season. I was kind of waiting for certain story beats to happen. So I'm now very nervous about going into Heated Rivalry, but very excited to keep going after that. So it's also one of the reasons why I haven't watched the Off-Campus series, which everyone seems to also very much enjoy. I haven't read those books yet, and if this Reading Game Changers taught me anything, it's that I am a book first, movie or TV show after kind of a person. It is very obvious that I've heard a lot of people say that her writing gets better throughout the series. I don't think, and don't hate me for this, I don't think the writing in this is all that good. I'm sorry. It feels stunted at times. It doesn't flow as well as I would want it to at times, but the story is very beautiful, and I was very intrigued about the fact that the ending that I know, which is the series ending of their story, quote unquote ending of their story, was not the same than it was in the book. And I actually like this one better because there's certain things that were left out of the series that are in the book, obviously. But yeah, I'm very nervous now to get into Heated Rivalry. Still excited, but nervous. I've also been really looking at the list that I currently have of the books that I need to read or the series that are on the go, and I'm having some thoughts. You will know those thoughts by next month when we have another update video, but I have thoughts, is all I'll say. And I'm just now thinking about whether or not I want to move through with those or if I want to keep it the way that it is. But as I mentioned, you will hear all about that in the June update. So where were we? So when we started in the month of May, we had 15 series to go and 39 books to read. Now with the updated list, we still have 15 series to go because we finished 2 and we started 2, but we now have 44 books to read, mainly because of the Game Changer series and the amount of books that are in that. And the 2 series that are done are a trilogy and a duology, so those weren't that many books. But anyway, so a very, very, very many amount of books have been added. But again, like I mentioned, I have thoughts. Once again, I apologize. I thought this was going to be a very quick update video, but here we are again, as I can see the timer ticking. This is never going to change. We're just going to have to accept that this is a thing as of now. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I have no idea how many videos you can expect from me this month. I am very much putting my own mental health and well-being on the forefront this month, because a lot of things, as I mentioned, are happening and are changing, and it's causing lots of feelings. So I'm doing my best, is all I'll say, but you will definitely see me doing Throne of Glass sprints and Heroes of Olympus reading sprints. Those are definitely planned. The bi-weekly bookmark bookmark sprints, I have put on hold for the month of June, just to give myself a little bit more breathing room and to not burn myself out. I still want to enjoy everything that's going on. I really don't want to see I really don't want any of this to become a chore. I think, as I mentioned in the adventure tag that I did a couple of weeks ago, the moment that happens, it's not gonna be a good idea. But once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I hope to see you soon. Again, I can't promise you anything, but I hope to see you soon. Bye.